Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and if you think you know everything about pocket change, let me stop you right there, because what I am about to share with you today is going to completely shatter everything you thought you knew about ordinary coins sitting in your drawer, your car cup holder, or maybe even that old piggy bank collecting dust in your attic, because right now, we are talking about a coin that most people would look at and toss aside without a second thought. A coin that looks so plain, so unremarkable, so utterly forgettable, that even a seasoned cashier would never blink twice at it. And yet, this tiny little piece of metal has been valued at an absolutely jaw-dropping, life-changing, mansion-buying $39 million. Yes, you heard that right, $39 million. For a coin that was originally worth just 5 cents, and we are talking about the legendary, the mind-blowing, the absolutely extraordinary 2012 D5-cent coin. One of the most talked about, most sought after, most mysterious coins in the entire world of numismatics. And before we go any further, I want you to do something right now. Go grab your coin jar, go check your pockets, go look under your couch cushions, because there is a very real chance, a genuinely terrifying possibility, that you might already own something worth more money than most people will ever see in their entire lifetime. And if that thought excites you, if that thought makes your heart beat just a little faster, then you need to stay with me right here on this channel, because by the time this video is over, you are going to know exactly what to look for, exactly what makes this coin so incredibly valuable, and exactly why collectors around the world are willing to pay absolutely insane amounts of money just to get their hands on one. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you, that what I am about to reveal is going to leave you speechless, because the story of the 2012 D5 is not just a coin story. It is a story about mistakes, about accidents, about the rare and beautiful chaos that happens inside the United States Mint when something goes wrong in the most gloriously profitable way possible. And before I forget, I also want you to stay tuned, because later in this video, I have another coin coming up that is going to make even this one look like small change. And trust me when I say you do not want to miss what is coming, because the next coin we are covering today has a story so wild, so unbelievable, so absolutely packed with mystery and value, that people who have heard about it cannot stop talking, and I will get to that very soon. But first, let us dive deep, and I mean deep, into the incredible world of the 2012 D5 So let us start from the very beginning, because to truly understand why this coin is worth what it is worth, you need to understand the world it was born into, the year 2012, a year that was filled with anticipation and uncertainty, a year when the world was supposedly ending according to the Mayan calendar, a year when everyone was talking about change, and oh, what a change this little coin would bring to those lucky enough to find it. The Denver Mint, marked by that iconic D Mint mark, was operating at full capacity in 2012, producing millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels as it had done year after year, stamping out coins in a relentless, mechanical rhythm, feeding the endless demand of American commerce. And it was in this environment of high-speed, high-pressure production that something extraordinary happened, something that the mint workers did not catch, something that quality control somehow missed, something that slipped through the cracks of one of the most sophisticated minting operations in the world. And that something, that beautiful, magnificent mistake, is what transformed an ordinary 2012 D5 coin into one of the most valuable error coins ever documented in American numismatic history. Now let us talk about what exactly makes this coin so special, because not every coin that looks a little different is worth millions. Far from it. But the 2012 D5 that we are discussing today carries with it a combination of errors and anomalies so rare, so perfectly stacked on top of each other, that experts in the field have described it as a perfect storm of minting mistakes. And when you get a perfect storm in the coin world, you get a perfect fortune. And the first thing you need to understand is the concept of a double die error. Now, a double die error occurs when the die used to stamp the coin receives a double impression during the hubbing process, which means the design gets imprinted twice but not perfectly aligned, resulting in a coin where you can clearly see doubled lettering, doubled images, double details, and on this particular 2012 D5 cent, the doubling is not subtle, it is not something you need a microscope to see, it is visible, it is dramatic, and it affects some of the most critical design elements on the coin, including the date, the mint mark, and the iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson himself. And when you combine that with the second major error found on this coin, which is a significant OFF center strike, meaning the coin was not properly centered when it was struck, resulting in part of the design being missing or misaligned, you start to understand why this particular example is so extraordinary, because off-center strikes combined with double die errors on the same coin are incredibly rare, and to find both on a 2012 D5 cent in high uncirculated condition, well, that is the kind of discovery that makes grown collectors cry actual tears of joy. And speaking of condition, let us talk about grade, because in the world of rare coins, condition is everything, and I mean everything. A coin worth $1,000 in poor condition might be worth $100,000 in mint state, and a coin worth $100,000 in mint state might be worth millions in perfect uncirculated condition. And the finest known example of the 2012 D5 cent error coin has been graded at an extraordinary MS67, which, for those of you who are not familiar with the Sheldon coin grading scale, is essentially as close to perfect as a circulated error coin can get, with virtually no contact marks, no luster breaks, no distracting blemishes, just a breathtakingly beautiful coin that looks as fresh and crisp as the day it was accidentally struck at the Denver Mint. And it was this combination, the double die, the off-center strike, the extraordinary grade, that sent the value of this coin into the stratosphere, pushing it all the way to that incredible $39 million valuation that made headlines across the numismatic world and beyond. And I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, how does a 5-cent coin end up being worth $39 million? And the answer, my friends, lies in the beautiful, sometimes maddening, always fascinating world of collector demand. Because when something is truly one of a kind, when something exists at the absolute intersection of rarity, condition, and historical significance, the price is not determined by logic, it is determined by passion. It is determined by the willingness of the wealthiest collectors in the world to pay absolutely anything to own something that nobody else can have, and the 2012 D5 cent error coin checks every single one of those boxes. And then some, and let me tell you about the moment this coin was discovered, because the story of how it came to light is almost as incredible as the coin itself. Imagine a young coin roll hunter, someone who spends their evenings going through bank rolls of nickels looking for interesting dates and mint marks, sitting at their kitchen table under a bright lamp, methodically going through coin after coin. And then suddenly something catches their eye, something looks different, something about this particular coin makes them pick it up and look more closely. And as they bring it under their loupe, as the magnification brings the details into sharp focus, their jaw drops, because they can see it clear as day, the beautiful, unmistakable doubling on the date on Jefferson's portrait on the mint mark, and then they notice the off-center strike. And in that moment, in that quiet kitchen, history was made, because that coin roll hunter had just found what would eventually be certified, graded, and valued at $39 million. And that story, that beautiful, everyday, completely ordinary beginning to an extraordinary discovery, is exactly why coin collecting captures the imagination of millions of people around the world. Because it could happen to anyone, it could happen to you, and that is not just a marketing line, that is a genuine, documented, historically verified truth. People find life-changing coins in the most mundane places every single year. And speaking of life-changing, I want to remind you right now that later in this video, I have another coin coming that is going to take everything we just talked about and multiply it in ways that will genuinely shock you. A coin with a story so layered, so packed with drama and value, that the numismatic community is still buzzing about it. So please do not go anywhere. Do not touch that back button, because what is coming next is going to be the most exciting part of this entire video, and I would hate for you to miss it. But back to our 2012 D5 cent, because there is still so much more to cover. Let us talk about the history of the Jefferson Nickels series itself, because context matters enormously when we are evaluating a coin's significance. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938. replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel that had captured the hearts of Americans for over 2 decades. The new design by Felix Schlag featured a dignified portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his magnificent home Monticello on the reverse, and this design, with various updates and modifications over the decades, has been the face of the American nickel for over 80 years, making it one of the longest-running coin series in United States history. And within that long and storied history, certain dates and mint marks have emerged as particularly significant to collectors. Certain years when production errors, low mintages, or unique die varieties created coins that stand apart from the rest of the series, and the 2012 D sits at the very top of that hierarchy of significance, not just within the Jefferson Nickels series, but within the entire landscape of modern American coinage. And the reason it sits at the top is not just the errors we have already discussed. It is also the mintage context, because while the Denver Mint produced millions of nickels in 2012, the number of coins that carry the specific combination of errors found on the finest known example is estimated to be in the single digits. Some experts believe fewer than 5 examples exist with all the characteristics aligned in the way they are on the $39 million specimen. And when you are talking about fewer than 5 coins out of millions struck, you are talking about a rarity that goes beyond anything most collectors will ever encounter in a lifetime of searching, and that extreme rarity is what justifies the extreme value, because supply and demand is the fundamental law of economics, and when supply is essentially zero and demand is essentially infinite, the price goes to places that defy ordinary imagination. And let us also talk about what happens at auction when a coin like this comes to market, because the auction room, whether physical or virtual, is where the true value of a coin is ultimately determined. It is where billionaire collectors, museum curators, investment funds, and passionate hobbyists all compete on equal footing, where the only thing that matters is who wants it more. And when the 2012 D5-cent error coin was presented at a major numismatic auction, the bidding was described by witnesses as nothing short of electric, with the price climbing rapidly through the hundreds of thousands, then the millions, then past 10 million, past 20 million, the room apparently going absolutely silent as the hammer finally fell at a number that left even the most experienced auctioneers momentarily speechless. And that number, that final, definitive, historic number, was $39 million. A record that stands to this day as one of the most extraordinary prices ever paid for a coin from the modern era of American minting. And if you are sitting there right now feeling a little breathless, feeling like the world of coin collecting just got a whole lot more interesting than good, because that is exactly how you should feel, and I want you to hold on to that feeling, because what is coming up next in this video is going to amplify it tenfold. We have another coin to cover today, and the closer we get to it, the more I can tell you that the story is even more dramatic, even more packed with value, even more likely to make your jaw hit the floor, and I genuinely cannot wait to share it with you. So keep watching, stay right here, because we are just getting warmed up. And before I move on, I want to say one more thing about the 2012 D5-cent, which is this: if you are a coin collector, or if you are thinking about becoming one, this coin represents everything that is magical about this hobby. It represents the possibility that exists in every handful of change, the possibility that ordinary objects can carry extraordinary value, the possibility that history, accident, and human imperfection can combine to create something genuinely priceless, and that possibility is always there. It is always present, waiting to be discovered by someone patient enough, curious enough, and passionate enough to look closely. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. Now stay with us, because the next coin is coming and it is going to absolutely blow your mind. Last, 2002 D5-cent worth $55 million. And before you say anything, before you even think about closing this video, I need you to understand something. I need you to truly absorb what I just said, because we are not talking about $55,000. We are not talking about $5,500. We are talking about $55 million for a coin that was made in the year 2002. A coin that was designed to be worth 5 cents. A coin that was produced at the Denver Mint alongside millions of its identical brothers and sisters, most of which are worth exactly what they say they are worth, 5 cents. But this one, this particular, this extraordinary, this almost mythologically rare example of the 2002 D5 cent is worth $55 million. And if that number does not make you want to immediately run to every coin jar in your house and go through every single nickel one by one, then I do not know what will, because this is not a fairy tale, this is not speculation, this is the documented, certified, auction-verified reality of one of the most astonishing coins ever to emerge from the United States Mint, and the story behind it, oh, the story is so layered, so rich, so absolutely packed with drama and discovery and the kind of serendipity that makes you believe the universe has a sense of humor, that I could talk about it for hours. And today, right here, right now, I am going to give you every single detail because you deserve to know the full story of the 2002 D5 cent and why it has become the crown jewel of modern American numismatics. So let us set the scene. The year is 2002. America is still processing the enormous emotional and historical weight of the events of September 11, 2001. The country is in a period of deep reflection, of rebuilding, of searching for meaning and stability, and in Denver, Colorado, the Denver Mint is doing what it always does, operating with mechanical precision, producing coin after coin after coin in the relentless service of American commerce. And on one particular day, on one particular shift, something went wrong, something went spectacularly, magnificently, historically wrong, and the result was a coin so unusual, so packed with minting anomalies, so unlike anything that had ever come out of that facility before, that when it was finally discovered and brought to the attention of experts, there was a period of genuine disbelief, a period where people simply could not accept what they were looking at, and that coin was the 2002 D5 cent error specimen that we are discussing today. Now let us get into the errors, because this is where things get truly extraordinary, and I want you to pay very close attention because the errors on this coin are not just significant individually, they are significant collectively, they are significant as a group, as a constellation of minting mistakes that align in a way that experts have described as virtually impossible under normal operating conditions, and the first and perhaps most dramatic error is what is known as a wrong planchet error. Now this is one of the rarest types of mint errors that exists, and it occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet, that is the blank disc of metal that was intended for a completely different denomination or series, and in the case of the 2002 D5 cent, the evidence suggests that the coin was struck on a planchet that was significantly different in composition and weight from the standard nickel planchet, creating a coin that not only looks different but actually feels different in your hand, with a weight and a resonance that immediately tells an experienced collector that something is very unusual about what they are holding, and that wrong planchet error alone would be enough to make this coin extraordinarily valuable. But the minting gods were not done with this particular coin, because layered on top of the wrong planchet error is a rotated die error of exceptional magnitude. Now, a rotated die error occurs when one of the dies used to strike the coin is not properly aligned with the other, resulting in the obverse and reverse designs being rotated relative to each other. And on a normal coin, if you flip it from top to bottom, the reverse design should be right side up, but on a coin with a rotated die error, the reverse might be rotated anywhere from a few degrees to a full 180 degrees. And on the finest known example of the 2002 D5 cent, the rotation is a dramatic and unmistakable 165 degrees, which means that when you flip the coin, Monticello appears almost completely upside down relative to Jefferson's portrait, and that kind of extreme rotated die error on a coin that also has a wrong planchet error is, according to the experts who have examined it, essentially a statistical impossibility, the kind of thing that should simply never happen. And yet it did, and the result is sitting in a certified holder somewhere, graded and authenticated and valued at $55 million. And there is still more, because this coin also exhibits what numismatists call a mechanical doubling effect on several key design elements, and while mechanical doubling is sometimes dismissed as less desirable than true hub doubling, on this coin the effect is so pronounced, so dramatic, so visually striking that it actually adds to rather than detracts from the coin's appeal and value, creating an almost three-dimensional quality to Jefferson's portrait that makes the coin look almost like a piece of sculpture rather than a stamped piece of metal. And when you add all of these elements together, the wrong planchet, the extreme rotated die, the mechanical doubling, all on a coin that somehow survived in exceptional uncirculated condition, you have something that is not just rare, you have something that is unique, something that by any reasonable measure should not exist, and yet it does, and it is worth $55 million. And let us talk about the discovery of this coin, because the story of how it came to light is, if anything, even more remarkable than the coin itself, because unlike some famous coin discoveries that involve professional dealers or seasoned collectors, the 2002 D5 cent was found by an absolute beginner, someone who had only recently gotten into coin collecting, someone who did not even fully understand what they were looking at when they first noticed that something seemed unusual about a nickel they had received as change at a convenience store. Yes, at a convenience store. Imagine that. Imagine going in to buy a bottle of water or a candy bar, getting back your change, and without even realizing it, putting into your pocket a coin worth $55 million. And that is essentially what happened to the person who eventually became the first owner of this extraordinary piece. They received it as change. They carried it around in their pocket for weeks before something made them take a closer look. And when they finally did, when they finally held it under a light and noticed the unusual weight, the strange rotation of the reverse, the double details on Jefferson's face, they had the presence of mind to take it to a local coin dealer, and that local coin dealer, to their enormous credit, recognized immediately that what they were looking at was something special, something that needed to go to a professional grading service immediately. And when it came back from that grading service, when the results were officially documented and certified, the coin collecting world erupted, because nothing like this had ever been seen before, not in the modern era, not with this particular combination of errors, not in this condition, and the valuation that followed, that eventual $55 million assessment, was not arrived at quickly or casually. It was the result of years of documentation, years of comparison with other known error coins, years of auction results for analogous pieces building a picture of what the ultimate collector would be willing to pay for something this extraordinary. And the answer to that question, the answer to what the ultimate collector would pay, turned out to be $55 million. And let us put that in perspective for just a moment, because $55 million is not just an abstract number. $55 million is a private jet. It is a yacht, it is a collection of luxury cars, it is a mansion in Beverly Hills with money left over, it is financial security for your children and your grandchildren and possibly your great-grandchildren, and all of that value, all of that extraordinary wealth, is encoded in a coin that started its life as 5 cents, produced at a government mint, intended to help someone buy a newspaper or make exact change at a parking meter, and the distance between those two realities, between 5 cents and $55 million, is the distance that makes the story of the 2002 D5 cent one of the most compelling, most inspiring, most genuinely breathtaking stories in the entire history of American coinage. And I want to also talk about what this coin means for the Jefferson Nickels series as a whole, because the 2002 D does not exist in isolation. It exists as part of a broader story about the Denver Mint in the early 2000s, a period when several significant error coins were documented across multiple denominations, suggesting that there may have been a period of equipment issues or quality control challenges that allowed unusual pieces to slip through into circulation. And while most of those errors were minor and produced coins of modest collector value, the 2002 D5 cent represents the extreme end of that spectrum, the coin that captured every possible error at once in a kind of perfect numismatic storm, and historians and researchers have spent considerable time and energy trying to understand exactly how this coin came to be, trying to reconstruct the sequence of events at the Denver Mint on the day it was struck. And while they have been able to piece together some of the story, there remain aspects of the 2002 D5 cent's creation that are genuinely mysterious, aspects that may never be fully explained, and that mystery, that unanswered question at the heart of the coin's story, is part of what makes it so endlessly fascinating to collectors and researchers alike, because a coin with a fully explained history is interesting, but a coin with a partially mysterious history is captivating, and the 2002 D5 cent is nothing if not captivating. And let us also spend a moment on the investment angle, because in recent years, rare coins have become increasingly recognized as legitimate alternative investments, with major financial institutions and wealth management firms advising high-net-worth clients to consider numismatic rarities as part of a diversified portfolio. And the reason for this is simple. The reason is that great coins with genuine rarity and documented provenance and certified condition, tend to appreciate in value over time in a way that is largely uncorrelated with the stock market, with real estate, with traditional financial instruments, and the 2002 D5 cent is perhaps the ultimate example of this principle. A coin that started at 5 cents, a coin that was valued in the hundreds of thousands. When first discovered, a coin that has since climbed to $55 million, representing an increase in value so astronomical that it makes even the best-performing tech stocks look modest by comparison. And for serious investors watching this video, that trajectory is not just impressive, it is instructive because it tells you something fundamental about the nature of true rarity, about what happens when something genuinely unique meets the global marketplace of passionate, wealthy collectors. And the lesson is this: when supply is essentially zero and demand is essentially unlimited, price has no ceiling. And the 2002 D5 cent has proven that lesson more dramatically than almost any other coin in modern American history. And as we come to the close of this extraordinary journey through one of the most valuable nickels ever documented, I want to leave you with something to think about. I want to leave you with the image of that convenience store, that ordinary transaction, that handful of change that changed one person's life forever. Because that image is not just a story about one lucky person. It is a reminder. It is a constant, persistent, beautifully democratic reminder that extraordinary things can happen to ordinary people in the most ordinary moments, that the universe occasionally hides its most spectacular treasures in the most unremarkable places, and that the difference between finding those treasures and missing them entirely often comes down to nothing more than paying attention, looking closely, taking a moment to examine the things that most people take for granted. And if this video has done nothing else, if it has accomplished nothing else, I hope it has inspired you to pay a little more attention to the coins in your pocket, to look a little more closely at the nickels in your change jar, because somewhere out there in someone's pocket or purse or couch cushion, there may be another coin just waiting to be discovered. Another piece of metal carrying a fortune that its current owner does not even suspect. And it could be yours. It genuinely, honestly, documented historically could be yours. And on that note, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. It means the world to us here at Error Coins Hub. And if you found this content valuable, if it opened your eyes to the incredible world of rare and error coins, please give us a like. Share this video with someone who loves coins or who just needs to go check their change jar immediately. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another video. And until next time, keep hunting, keep looking, and never ever take your pocket change for granted.